At this moment, I have the honor to introduce our guest speaker. We are so honored to have the tireless public servant, minister, college educator, community activist, political strategist, and former Georgia State Representative, Dr. Dorothea D. Dawkins-Haigler. During her 8.5 years as a Georgia State Representative, she served as chair of the Georgia's Legislative Black Caucus and chair of the Georgia Women's Legislative Caucus. She served as a chaplain with the National Black Caucus of State Legislators and as the National Director of Regional Coordinators for the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women. She is the founder and president of the Organization of World Leaders and the founder of many other organizations which seek to protect, and advocate on behalf of children and address the issue of poverty, economic inequities, racism and sexism, domestic violence, and many others. Minister Haigler is the chief ambassador to the United Nations as a consultant. We are excited to present Dr. D. Dawkins-Haigler for our guest speaker.
Good morning and happy Jubilee Day. It is a pleasure for me to be in the house of the Lord one more time, even if it's for Emancipation Day. To everyone that is a member of the DeKalb County NAACP, I greet you in the joy of Jesus. To the host pastor of this church, we greet you, Dr. Dow, and to the chairperson of this committee, Attorney D.E. Smith, thank you for allowing me to come and speak this morning a few words. Now, when President Hardy called and extended the invitation to be the speaker for Jubilee Day, my first thought was she's also my friend and she knows how I conduct myself. So what could I possibly say given this current political, social climate that we find ourselves in? Would I discuss the Emancipation Proclamation, or would I stand up and say that all hell is breaking loose and America is in chaos? Would I discuss that black people in America have still not achieved true freedom? Or would I taper my remarks as not to be viewed as a radical liberal? Or what would I do? Then it dawned on me that there was too much at stake for me to have a podium and not to sound the clarion call, not to sound the alarm and make sure that we stay focused and encouraged on what is going on around us right now in America. In America, in 2020, my God, 2020, we went through a lot of things. We were dealing with 2 pandemics at the same time. We were dealing with racism and COVID-19. And in the midst of all of it, we still managed to come through on the other side. Now, those who know me know I don't have time to mince my words or to sugarcoat things. Why is that? Because silence is consent. Silence is consent. And not only is silence consent, given the climate that we are in, silence is betrayal. Dr. King once stated, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. My brothers and sisters, even though my formal training and education is in political science, I need y'all to be very clear today that my calling is to be a preacher of the gospel, but my conviction leads me to be a social activist and freedom fighter. And what we have learned in America, that nothing is free. And I make no apologies for being a freedom fighter. My moral compass is guided by justice, equality, service, and freedom. And not just freedom for black people as we embrace our race, but freedom for all, which will propel us into the next century. We have to, as black people, fight a system of structural and systemic racism that still does not value or empower our black flesh. For most of my adult life, I have been accused of being too black and always bringing race into the equation. But how can we live in this land and not talk about race as it relates to everything we deal with? But you see, now it's the cool thing to talk about race. Everybody wants to add the word black to everything that we do. But our actions speak louder than our words. Because being black is not like walking around with a t-shirt on. It's about being in the field, being in the trenches, fighting when it's unpopular, having people talk about you, and also have people also ostracizing you because you're not afraid to speak up and speak out about the things that matter the most to your race. This is one of the reasons why I love the NAACP. This organization, founded in 1909 in response to the ongoing violence against black people in America, a violence that is so vile and deeply rooted in the fabric of America. It's just as American as baseball and apple pie. A violence that will have many of us to believe that we in and of ourselves are the cause of the atrocities that have been inflicted upon us as a people. A violence that often leads to the bloodshed of our people at the hands of the colonizer or even a few of our own. But most of the violence that we perpetuate upon each other is because of an unjust system that has created an environment of violence. Again, America is steeped in violence. This is why in May of 2020, the NAACP launched the campaign, "We Are Done Dying." I need y'all to feel that. We are done dying. And the intention was to expose the inequities that are embedded in this country, a country that has never lived up to her full promise as written in the second paragraph of the United States Declaration of Independence, where it states that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among them being that of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sometimes, and some of us with highly melanated skin, we've had to chase this freedom for the time we've been brought on those shores as slaves. We have been in a constant state of juxtaposition, or a perpetual spin, as I call it. It's almost like riding a bicycle without wheels. Just when we think that we have overcome a certain obstacle or a hurdle, someone creates a new one for us, and they're constantly changing the goalposts. How can one live in a place where you are always the target? But yet, because we are a resilient people, we always overcome no matter what people try to do to us. We are living in a very peculiar time. For the past 4 years, we were awakened daily to the tweeting of foolishness from a clown that resides at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And many of us cannot wait until January the 20th when he will leave that place. As a child, I grew up on Dr. Seuss. My mother read it to me, and I read it to my children. And one of my favorite books was Marvin K. Mooney. And in this book, Marvin K. Mooney didn't want to leave where he was. And Dr. Seuss the person kept saying, "Marvin K. Mooney, will you please go now? And I don't care how you leave. You can leave on a boat, you can leave on a bus. I don't care how you get here, just go, you must." Well, Donald J. Trump, you've got to leave that White House. We don't care how you leave there. We don't care if you go on a boat. We don't care if you go on a helicopter. We don't go if you go by train or plane. But you have got to leave that place. Because 45 has caused us to be the laughing mockery of the entire world. He has turned the office of the presidency into something that's more like a minstrel show. It is a reality show, if we really want to call it that. Nothing but lies, name-calling, and accusations and cover-ups are the order of the day. And we should have known that he was going to pardon all his friends, and he's still not through in the pardoning business. But as I said, at this point, we don't care. Donald J. Trump, we just want you to go and go now. But many of us are afraid to even address what's going on with him trying to invalidate our election. This is very dangerous in many ways, because he is basically trying to tell the rest of the world that America has duly elected or duly not elected the right person. This is dangerous to our democracy. And those of us with a mouth, we better start speaking up and speaking out, because to him, he has awakened the sleeping giant of bigotry and racism, causing white nationalism to rise. And if it wasn't just the racism that we had to deal with, we have had to deal with feelings of being unsafe in our very person, in our very bodies, because this cancer that we thought we had defeated has been laying dormant, has not come back in rare form. So, what do we do now? That's a good question. So let's talk about that for a few minutes. We have witnessed the most expensive and contentious election cycle of our lifetime. We watched in real time a president trying to overthrow an election. We have watched in real time him calling on people to stand by and stand up, or whatever the Proud Boys talk about. I don't even listen to them as much as I should. But what I do know, the scary part for most of us in this place, is that 74,223,074 Americans voted for Donald J. Trump. That's what we ought to be really afraid of. And not only did those 74,223,744 Americans vote for Donald J. Trump, you also have congressional members, governors, state attorney generals, and other members of state legislators going along with the foolishness supporting false accusations of voter fraud. This is dangerous, because what they're trying to do now is to invalidate the millions of votes by black people. Black people who took the time out to vote by absentee ballot. We have to deal with this, and they're basically telling us that in 2020, just like before the Emancipation Proclamation, when we were 3/5 of a person, that we still do not matter. But how many of you know that the devil is a liar, and black people have worth, and our lives matter? And so black people, we have to rise to the occasion over and over again. Not only did we build this country, we also have to save it from itself. And sometimes we get tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. But we're also not going to live in a place where our children are not safe. And so leaders, the sons and daughters of the descendants of Africa, we have a job yet to do. We have a country that depends too much on gun violence, and we have more than any other industrialized country in the world. And then we have mass shootings by white men, and 45 and all the rest of his government elite are unwilling to call them what they are, and that is domestic terrorists. And they would rather try to put that on mental illness. But I'm here to tell you, people who are mentally ill do not deserve to be lumped up with people who are absolutely downright crazy. And there is a difference between being mentally ill and being crazy. Because mentally ill means you have a situation that is health related, and you may need medication, you may need counseling, you may need many things. But when you are crazy, and that's crazily insane like these people are, we are in trouble, because crazy people might do anything. And we know this because we have seen the history of America and what they have tried to do and sell to us as a bill of goods. They have tried to rewrite their history and make us believe that black people were happy on slave plantations. But how many of you know that we are not falling for that foolishness again going into 2021? Enough is enough. And we have to deal with the unjust judicial system that will try to convince us otherwise. So now, not only do we have white people inflicting violence against us, police officers who kill us down in the street, we're now having to deal with black people killing black people. And not that black people just randomly go around shooting black people, because we really do not do that. One thing I can say about black people is usually they have a target in mind. Now, granted, you might be an innocent bystander and you might get caught by a bullet, but black people in general don't go into buildings and blow them up, and movie theaters and restaurants and, malls and shopping. We don't do all that kind of carrying on. I'm telling you, we have a target and we try to hit it. But that's not okay either. We've got to call a thing a thing. And we in the black community have got to figure out a way to address the issues of violence in our communities. But we know that violence in our communities is brought about by poverty, by systematic and structural racism that we still have not addressed, but that still does not let them off the hook. And I know if you are like me, that you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, just like that great philosopher Fannie Lou Hamer told us. And so we've got to get to work, because our country is in chaos. Well, I'm going to try to speed it up because they only gave me a few minutes, but I am convinced that if we get together collectively in this season, somebody say collectively. The problem with many of us is we want to be the leader. We want to be the one that gets the shine. We want to be the one whose names is in the lights. But when your people are dying on the vine, we don't have the liberty to try to figure out who's going to be in control, which person is going to be headlining, which person is going to be seen, what will the newspaper say. What I read when I see the newspaper when somebody is dying, I say that yet again one of us has senselessly died at the hands of the oppressor. So black people, we've got to have a strategy. And if I were preaching this morning, I would give y'all 3 points. But since I didn't give a text, I won't take you there. But one thing I can tell you is that we've got to organize, strategize, and execute. Why do I say that? Because many times we all have our own different agendas. But we cannot afford on this Jubilee Day to have our own agenda. We've got to come together as black people, because if we do not, they will continue to take away the rights that we have worked so hard to fight for. And another thing that we cannot do is dismiss the conversation about reparations. I know it's not an easy topic for many, but we deserve every bit of reparations that this United States of America can afford. Because if you can't afford to give corporations millions and millions of tax breaks in dollars, surely you can give the descendants of slaves a reparation to stay in this country. And it doesn't always have to be in the form of money. It could be free college education to all of those who are descendants of slaves, or it could be tax-free loans and no-interest loans for those who are descendants. But whatever it is, my ancestors bled and died and were promised 40 acres and a mule, and you're not going to get away with giving somebody a $600 stimulus check or a MARTA pass or a free house, Section 8 housing, or Uber ride or free Obama, that they call them Obama phone, to get us out of the way. No, we are tired. We are sick of dying. And not just a physical death, but we're tired of dying an economic death, a mental death, a physical death, a spiritual death, and an emotional death. And black people have suffered more in the last 400 years than any other race. And have them telling some of y'all believe y'all came over here on the Mayflower, the Nina the Pinta, or the Santa Maria, but you did not. You came on slave ships across the Atlantic Ocean to come to a country to build it for free. And because of that, we deserve our reparations. So, as I get ready to close, let me just say one more time to you, we have got to stay together. We have been divided for too long. And when they divide us, they can tear us down. We have got to realize that we are our brother and sister's keeper. And we've got to use our collective power to get people into office who are not afraid to speak truth to power. And that's why America and Donald Trump and everybody was surprised when Georgia voted for Joe Biden. Because they did not understand and did not realize that here in the deep, deep South, that we could raise our voices once again and use our collective superpower, which is voting, to change the trajectory of this country. And now we're waiting, just like they were waiting on December the 31st of 1862 for the Emancipation Proclamation to be signed and go into effect. We're waiting to see what's going to happen on January the 5th, because we believe that we can again make a change in this country. Because we're tired of dying while driving while black, tired of dying, of walking and jogging while black, and tired of being in our own homes, minding our business, dying while black. And we refuse to die anymore, because there are repercussions to our death. And those who are elected, if you don't understand anything else, understand that we are coming for you now. It is time out for all of the playing and the games. Our children depend on us. And we did not put you in office for you to be silent at such a time as this. It's time for you to move and to get to work and to act like we have some sense. So just like every great person leaves a legacy, generation to generation, in a few words, Dr. King told us that we should have a dream. And then we had the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who told us to keep hope alive. And then we had people like Fannie Lou Hamer, who told us, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. But I'm going to tell you that there was another prophet in a movie called The Color Purple, and her name was Celie. And just like she told Mister, we are not telling you, white people and all those who would try to hurt us and bring us harm, until you do right by us. Everything you touch is going to crumble, because enough is enough. And so as D. Dawkins-Haigler would leave this podium, everyone always waits for me to say this last part. All our skin folk ain't our kinfolk, and all our color ain't our kind. And we have to be like Harriet Tubman, and when she was leading people to freedom. And let me tell you what she did. She took with her a backpack, what we would call a stick, and it had a bag with her essentials in it, and a pistol. And yes, that pistol was also used and needed for guns and snakes and wild animals. But it was also used for those, when they were trying to get to freedom, who decided in the middle of the trail that they wanted to turn around and run back and go the other way. Well, I'm telling you right now, for those of y'all who think you're about to take us back to a place that we don't want to go and keep us from getting to the North Star of our freedom, we are letting you know that we are going to have a Harriet Tubman kind of spirit. And before we let you take us back anywhere, we will shoot you dead in the street. Now, I don't mean dead physically, because then y'all gonna use this clip later if I try to run for office and say she's trying to kill people. But what I do mean by killing things is we gonna kill it at the head. We will vote you out of office, we will put you on blast, and we will tell you that you will no longer speak for us, because enough is enough. So as I sit down, happy Jubilee Day. Freedom is not free, but together we can make the difference.